As Muslims all over the world commemorate World Hijab Day, calls have gone to government agencies at all levels to ensure that the constitutional rights of Muslim women and girls in Nigeria are well protected. Speaking at a joint press conference in Raleigh, 18 different Muslim groups alongside their female members numbering over 1,000 converged at the Lagos State Secretariat's Central Mosque, Alausa, to engage in a rally from Allen Roundabout down to the Lagos State Secretariat. The group say the observance of the Hijab Day provides an important platform for raising awareness about the hijab as a symbol of faith, identity and empowerment, while addressing the persistent challenges faced by Muslim women and girls in Nigeria.
Muslim women in hijab, just try to be yourself and try to portray, that's very important, try to portray the teachings of the religion.
In the Lagos State community, especially where I grew up, you are free to use your hijab. It's a good place for us to use it, and all other places. The only thing we will say is for areas where there are issues, definitely I know there are challenges in some areas, let them speak up. We are out to protect whoever is being marginalized or wherever these challenges is coming from.
There is nothing like Islamization of Nigeria. We are only fighting for our rights, and that is what we are still doing up to today.
Religious tolerance is 90% much better than it used to be. So definitely our dear President Tinubu has done a lot. For such a statement to be happening there, it means we are not after the Muslim ticket, or it's a Muslim want to Islamize the country and all. So there is balance in religious practicing in the country, and indeed I must commend the effort of the President.
And joining me in the studio to discuss more on the World Hijab Day is the Executive Director, Hijab Rights Advocacy Initiative, Mutiat Orolu Balogun. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's nice to have you join us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so February 1st was the World Hijab Day. But before we delve into the significance of this day, what more do we need to know about this covering known as hijab? What does the Muslim faith really say about this?
Yes, the hijab is the covering of the Muslim woman legislated by God. It is a divine instruction on how a Muslim woman should appear when she's leaving a house or when she's in the presence of people that are not close relatives. So you find out that there are direct instructions entrenched in the primary source of Islam, which is the Quran, the book of God. So you find out that in two places, especially in chapter 33 as well as chapter 24, the direct command is to Muslim women. Yes, there are parts of where it's addressed to Muslim men, but when we are talking about the covering for Muslim women, it is specific to them, and then there are some conditions that are meant to be met before, you know, they leave their houses or before they appear in front of men that are not close family members.
So I hear it's also one to promote modesty and probably prevent women from being sexually harassed. I'm wondering, has this really achieved this purpose? Yes,
we would say yes in theory, or let's say it has achieved that purpose, because if you look at Quran 33 that I made reference to earlier, it states that so that you shall be known as free and respectable women, and so that you would not be harassed. So it's, you know, the injunction came at a time where some people were still slaves, where, you know, right now you don't know who is who. People have identity cards, or right now we're in a society where we all think, you know, we are equal. But in those days, things were quite different. So that when a Muslim woman wears a hijab, your identity immediately comes to fore as to the kind of person you are, and then the kind of way you should be perceived and be approached. For instance, if you're a Muslim woman, I would not expect any man that understands that concept when he's trying to greet you to extend his hand, because by your dressing, he already sees that you're a Muslim woman. Or if, for instance, you're being served at maybe a restaurant, they would not serve you pork because you're a Muslim woman, you know, things like that. So it gives you that kind of identity so that people will know how to relate with you. And then, yes, we would say to an extent it reduces harassment, but we will not be naive to say that some people will not go out of their way to harass women in general, and some, maybe Muslim women in particular. But if you are looking at a, you know, on a general scale of, you know, people just trying to be, let me say normal, or you know, you would find out that the issue of presents something that they do not understand. So yes, in an aspect, it has reduced harassment because people know how to relate with you and what to offer and not to offer you. But some would definitely go out of their way to want to harass because they do not like what you represent in the society.
All right, so coming back to talk about the significance of word hijab, what message is he really trying to preach? And how do you deal with discrimination? I've been in places where, you know, I'll see women putting on hijab, they're walking, and then people tend to look at them in some, you know, type of way. How do you deal with this? Are there cases where you feel like you've been, that discrimination is there? Are there cases where you feel like, just feel different, you know, walking into a room and then maybe the body language of persons in the room are like, okay, so why is she having, of course, it's not the first time you see people put on hijab.
Yes.
Or have you had cases, such cases?
Yes, I think personally, and there is almost any hijabi growing up in Nigeria that you would pose the same question that will not have 10, 20 stories to share. But the thing is that we face discrimination, different kinds of discrimination. Now you face institutional discrimination. For instance, you want to do your driver's license, or you want to do your international passport, for instance, any biometrics, any service that is involving biometrics, and then you get there, they tell you you have to remove your hijab or you have to bring out your ears and all that. But if you look at the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, and also the biometric regulations, you know, put out by the NIMC, as well as you know, some of these agencies, you find out that the hijab is recognized, and then the means of taking biometrics of people that are meant to wear the hijab is already there. But you find out that the people on ground, the staff, is either they are not being trained on what to do, or there is no consequence for such action. So you find out that these things happen year in, year out. Even for something as simple as registering for WAEC exams, or for registering for NECO, or for JAMB, even though these institutions have come out time and time again to say we do not discriminate people that dress, you know, according to their religious dictates. It is protected by the law. Section 38 of the Constitution gives freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Section 42 talks about, you know, you not being discriminated against because you're a particular religion, sex, tribe, and all that. And even goes on to say that even if any agency or by any administrative act or rule, you know, makes laws that discriminate against people, and then those rules are to their extent null and void. So you find out you have institutional discrimination. Then, like the one that you talked about when you talk about working in a room, is something that we can call social discrimination. However, personally, I don't really bother myself about that. I think that onus is on hijabis, on how we relate with the public in the social space. You cannot really fault people for the way they react to something they don't understand. Only you are the person that maybe you can try to advocate, try to relate with people when you're at work or when you're in a public place like in the bus. The way you relate to people would change people's mind on how they relate to you. So I don't totally sometimes bother myself about that kind of discrimination. I just see it as a challenge that we have not done enough, that probably we have not related with people enough to understand us, to know us, that whenever an hijabi walks in the room, she's just like every other human being trying to contribute her own positive contribution or impact into.
All right, so briefly, I need you to talk to us about the message, you know, this year's commemoration is preaching.
The theme of what hijab did this year is hijab is unsilenced. Okay. That is, we are amplifying our voices to show people the discrimination that we face. A lot of people do not understand this because if you do not face discrimination, it is invisible to you. So I was talking about the issue of international passports. A regular person might be like, no, I had no issues when I wanted to capture. But I'm sure the experience of a Muslim woman is totally different from you that are not wearing the hijab. So we are trying to amplify our voices. We are saying hijabis, we are on silence, because whenever we face these discriminations, we are going to be doing things about it. We are going to advocate. If we need to go to court, we are going to go to court. We went to Asat Abdul Karim for 12 years, up till we got to the Supreme Court and got a verdict. Went to the National Industrial Court when a Muslim radiographer was denied an interview. And we got judgment on the 10th of January, that's 2021, or so. So we have been doing advocacy. We have been taking all peaceful and legal means to advocate for our rights. So the theme this year is hijabs on silence. Regardless of whatever we are facing, we're not going to cower to a corner to not do anything about it. We're going to take positive and legal steps.
All right, I'm afraid we may have to leave it there at this point.
Thank you very much.
I've been speaking with Barrister Mutiat Orolu Balogun. She is the Executive Director of Hijab Rights Advocacy Initiative. Thank you indeed for your time with us.
Thank you.
And still on religious matter, the governor of Abia State, Alex Oti, is challenging the newly inaugurated Christian and Muslim Pilgrims Welfare Board to improve their service and performance in their new roles. He gave the charge at the inauguration of the Pilgrims Board held at the Government House, Umuahia. The board is saddled with the responsibility of organizing and managing pilgrimage activities for residents of Abia State.
These appointments were made strictly by merit. It's all about work. It's all about performance. And we know that you were going to perform, and that's why we choose you. We have no doubt that you will not disappoint us.
That we will not disappoint you, and I promise you this board is going to do you proud and you'll be happy with us.
It is a wonderful feeling to serve in this divine gospel parastatal. Therefore, we thank you so much, Your Excellency, for the opportunity given to us. We promise not to disappoint you and to work hard with our greatest honesty to bring Muslim pilgrims' welfare to greater heights.